and welcome to the Behavior Education Connection, the podcast that works to connect the world of behavior analysis and the world of education. We focus on topics important to behavior analysts who work in the public schools and those who support them. Join us and spend time gaining insights and ideas as our host talks with fellow behavior analysts as well as other experts in the field.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Behavior Education Connection podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Selena Layden. And today, I actually have a little bit of a special episode for you. Instead of our typical episode, I actually don't have a guest with me today. Rather, you're going to be stuck with just me. But fear not, I am going to try to make sure to keep you entertained. I hope you like today's episode and feel free to share it with someone who might find it helpful. So the other day, I was asked why I would ever choose to work in public schools as a behavior analyst. And so, as you may or may not know from previous episodes, I worked in public schools as a behavior analyst in my roles in education for a large part of my career before coming to higher education. Now that I'm a faculty member, I've been very interested in school-based behavior analysts, and I've published several articles on this topic, as well as having the pleasure of running the Virginia Public Schools Behavior Analyst Network, or VAPSBAN, which is why we have this podcast. I have to be honest, I truly loved working in schools. I found it to be really rewarding, actually a very rewarding time in my career. However, I'm not sure that everyone who is a behavior analyst should work in a public school setting. For one, I think some behavior analysts have amazing knowledge and skills in other applications of our science. And two, public schools, frankly, are complex and unique settings, and they require their own knowledge and skill set. And not everybody has or is willing to develop that knowledge and skill set. So today, I thought it might be fun. I want to talk about things behavior analysts might consider before working in public school settings. And just for even more fun, I decided we'd make it a top 10 list. If you're a bit younger than me, you may not remember, but a little while ago, The Late Show used to have David Letterman, and he would do a top 10 list. And these were very popular. People loved watching them. If you aren't familiar with this, I'm sure there's lots of YouTube videos out there if you're curious. But without further ado, let's start our top 10 list. So number one. Before working in a public school setting, you definitely want to consider what type of clients you enjoy working with. Because in a public school, you may or may not be working directly with children. While there were times I worked with students, most of my work was to support the adults working directly with students. I personally enjoy this. I love working with adults and supporting them, and I think that it can make a really big impact. But if your heart is set on working with children, you may want to consider this. Number two. You will need more knowledge than what you learn to obtain your behavior analytic credentials. Education is its own field, and as we apply behavior analysis in this field, we have to remember there is a lot to learn. One area, for example, that I think is particularly important in education is the law, and particularly special education law, as a lot of the people and children that we're going to support receive special education services. Understanding things like timelines, FAPE, LRE, FERPA, and all of the other education-specific acronyms really is critical to your success. And this is just one area outside of behavior analysis that you're really going to have to become or to grow your expertise on if you want to be successful working in public schools. Number three, you need to understand instruction. It's really interesting to me how many behavior analysts will say they don't do instruction or that's not their area. And I can kind of understand that, but not really. Schools specialize in teaching and learning, and instruction is at that core. However, I think there's some good news. As a behavior analyst, you already know more about instruction than you think. You may not be a content expert in terms of parts of the cell or dates of historic events, but as a behavior analyst, we know a lot about skill acquisition, and we can definitely support instruction from this perspective. That said, this is where collaboration is critical, as teachers do have content expertise and also know about instruction, so working together can result in better outcomes for everyone. Number four, speaking of collaboration, you will need strong collaboration skills. Educators do a lot as a team, and there are lots of different teams. You may be the only behavior analyst in a school or even in a district, depending on a lot of factors. And so, first, you can't do everything by yourself. And second, you won't accomplish a lot if you try to do everything by yourself. Pair yourself, work together, be supportive, be a good collaborator. Number 5, you need to understand that you never get to take your behavior analyst hat off. As an ethical behavior analyst, we don't simply get to take one hat off and put another one on. Instead, we really need to learn how to integrate our behavior analytics selves and our educator selves. And sometimes that's going to be really difficult. And so you're going to have to work through some things. But remember, you are always a behavior analyst. Number 6, you will need to build a network. I'm a firm believer that professional networks are truly key in our success. They help to provide us needed supports, and honestly, I think they can help reduce burnout. I don't have data on this, but I do know that teacher burnout is less when they have a network around them, and I would be surprised if this wasn't true for school-based behavior analysts too. The thing is, you need to work to find other school-based behavior analysts to include in your network. Having just educators or just behavior analysts is not going to be enough. You need to have people who have those experiences as a school-based behavior analyst. Educators and behavior analysts are really both great groups, and you should have them in your network. But having people who understand your work is really helpful. Number 7, this one is a little controversial perhaps, but just because your scope of competence includes working with a specific population, such as kids with autism or intellectual disabilities, does not mean that your scope of competence extends to working in public schools. As I mentioned, schools are their own unique context for the application of our science, and that means having expertise in one area does not automatically mean you have expertise in this area. I always encourage folks to complete at least some of their supervision in public schools, if at all possible, if they're interested in working in that setting. At the very least, you need to take ethical steps to grow your scope of competence if this is a setting you want to work in. Number 8, you may need additional licensure or certifications to work in public school settings. This one varies a lot by state, so make sure that you understand what your state requires. Depending on where you're working, you may have a different type of contract than your colleagues, and a lot of that is going to depend on your license and certification status. So make sure that you understand this before you look into taking a job within a public school setting. Number 9, you might find many or even most of your colleagues in education don't really understand what you do and don't fully understand our science. In a lot of my research, I hear school-based behavior analysts talk about the that they feel like a firefighter or a wizard, and they feel like they're supposed to put out fires or wave their magic wand to make it all better. And while that would be fantastic if we had a magic wand to make it all better, we just know it just doesn't work like that. But I do think part of our job in a school setting is to help disseminate our science so others have a better understanding of what behavior analysis is, how it works, and how it can be useful for everyone. Number 10, you may really love it. Working in public schools can be truly rewarding for a lot of reasons. I really enjoy systems level work, and I got to apply parts of my science that I didn't necessarily get to use in other settings. I found every day was different. There was never a boring day in my career when I worked in a school setting. I really felt like I made a difference because of what I did, and I truly think behavior analysts have a lot to contribute to education and can make a huge difference in the lives of students, teachers, families, and all the other stakeholders that are involved. We have a lot to share, and education really is a great fit for our science. We just need to be responsible and mindful in how we practice our science within educational settings. So I hope this list was helpful, as many of you listening likely already are school-based behavior analysts and curious if you agree. Did I miss anything? Feel free to leave a comment or send me an email at vapsban@odu.edu. That's VAPSBAN@odu.edu. And if you supervise or even know someone who's considering becoming a school-based behavior analyst, please share this episode. I think there's a lot to consider, but again, this really can be such a great opportunity and experience if it's a good fit. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the episode. and I look forward to having you join me again on our next episode.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Behavior Education Connection. Join us next time for another great conversation about behavior analysis in the schools. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on an episode. Sending out a special thanks to the Virginia Department of Education for supporting our work. We look forward to connecting with you all again soon.